Wargaming and map design is kind of like combining Coke and Mentos. It just kind of blows up. It's really hard to tell what went through the developers' team's heads when they were designing some maps. Because some are just plain awful, some are decent, but most of them are just following Wargaming's usual 3-lane cover most of the map in unplayable death zone philosophy. And due to this design philosophy, the map usually ends up with a few obvious positions on each map, where the team distributes their tanks every game, but also due to this map philosophy, there are some positions that are completely left out because they are either useless or too situational to even be worth considering going to. This is what we're going to take a look at today. The most weird and irrelevant positions in this game. Those positions that you might have visited once or twice, ever, or even never. So buckle up, buddy, because we're gonna show you those 20 maps that you've been playing over and over again in a completely new light today. Small disclaimer, we're not gonna use any bugs or exploits to reach out of place positions. We're mostly gonna showcase positions that basically every tank in the game is able to reach, with a few exceptions. Oh, and also, if you feel like there is any weird position that we have left out or forgotten, please comment so down below, and we might do a follow-up video. Let's go. Abby has quite a few interesting positions. Let's start with one of the most interesting ones. This cave. It's actually a pretty cool spot to be in, but it's very out of reach and doesn't really serve any purpose other than being a good hiding spot if you're trying to survive a losing battle. We try to see if you can proxy spot enemies that are on the shelves above from here, but you cannot. I rate this cave 3 out of 5 tomatoes. Pretty cool. The next one is this street right here. The entirety of the small town below the middle hill mostly serves as sort of a passageway to either get to the hill or to the bushes that oversee the north spawn. But this street in particular is basically never used because the streets closer to the hill are just faster to pass through. And this balcony right here serves basically no purpose whatsoever. Pretty funky place. I rate this place 3 out of 5 tomatoes. Did you know that you can be on the airfield of airfield? Wow. I rate this place 0 out of 5 tomatoes. It sucks. Berlin really is a goldmine for useless positions. The entire lower section of the riverside is basically a death trap where you get exposed to enemy fire if you try and cross. It's basically just there to improve on the immersiveness of the map. 2 out of 5 tomatoes. Then there's this weird place. It's like a little shelter where you can do nothing. You basically have no lines on anything from here, and there is only one place to go in or out. 1 out of 5 tomatoes. Welcome to the coal mines, motherfucker. This is a perfect place to hide at the end of a battle, and that's pretty much it. 2 out of 5 tomatoes. This position on cliff is probably used relatively frequently, but it's kind of niche as it's pretty situational. If you can get here in a light tank, you can get some pretty cheeky spots up on the hill. Actually a useful position, but only really viable from one side of the map. 4 out of 5 tomatoes. God damn. This position on El Haluf is a very similar place. It only works from one side if you are a fast tank with good camo. If you sit here, you can perma-spot the enemies trying to poke from the corner over here. However, you probably won't get a lot of spotting damage here, but you can be an annoying invisible distraction for the enemies. All in all, kind of a niche position. 2 out of 5 tomatoes. This position on Empire's border is also one of those sneaky positions. If you are fast and have good camo, you can rush here from north spawn and get some good spots on the incoming heavies. If you make good use of the double bushes, you can even rack up some damage from here. 4 out of 5 tomatoes. Very nice. This position down here though is a solid 5 out of 5. Impressive. You probably already know about this position on Erlenberg, but we had to include it. It's a classic hiding spot if you're trying to hide in a losing scenario. You can also go here to snipe at incoming tanks if you have north spawn, but in that case you are better off sitting around the beach on the other side, as you can relocate to the base from there if the enemies come too close. Going to this little area makes you sort of committed to it. 2 out of 5 tomatoes. On Fisherman's Bay there is this little weirdly placed house south of the south spawn. It's right by the red line and you can shoot through the windows of it. However, This means you can also get spotted through it, and since the house is destructible as well, 1 out of 5 tomatoes. Not impressive. Fjords. If Berlin was a gold mine of useless positions, then this map is a gold factory of useless positions. First off, the classic waterfall position. You have probably been here at some point. It's kind of a good defensive position from the east spawn. However, enemies rarely come through here as it's a very long detour to pass through this way. Kind of seems like Wargaming has forgotten about this spot because look at this. When you fell the trees, they pass through the ground and provide no camo at all. Lol. 2 out of 5 tomatoes. The next one could potentially be one of the most useless positions in the entire game. The only reason this position is here is for immersion purposes, probably. It's a seaside village, so of course there needs to be a pier. You might actually be able to hide behind this house and get a killing shot on the incoming heavies here, but then you can just snipe from the bushes from the lower zero line. You know what? If you can get like a kill in like a shit barn from here and send a replay to us, we will feature that replay. 1 out of 5 tomatoes to this position. The next one is also one of those immersion types of positions. This little ship repair station or workshop or whatever. You can actually go hull down here if your hull isn't too tall and shoot at the incoming heavies, but mostly this position is completely useless as you get stuck here if you go here, and there are far better campy positions around the base that aren't as much of a commitment. This place looks kinda cool though. 2 out of 5 tomatoes. You have most likely been in this little train hangar on Himmelsdorf, but you might not have been in this little pocket right here. If you are a low tier tank or a very small tank, you can squeeze right in here and get a defending position if you know enemies are coming through here. It can be very effective as you expose extremely little of your tank here, but all in all pretty niche. 3 out of 5 tomatoes though, cause it's pretty cool. On Lakeville, there is this one house at the red line below the city. It's actually a pretty good ambush position if you are defending. If you can hide here in like a shit barn and wait until the enemies have passed on the left here, you can probably get a penning shot in their ass. You know what? If you can get a kill in the shit barn from here, we will feature you. 3 out of 5 tomatoes. Very nice. When was the last time you used this bush in particular on Malinovka? 2 out of 5 tomatoes. Oh, Panzer of the Lake, what is your wisdom? Down here in Mannerheim line is a little passageway that is good for approaching the enemy base from north spawn without receiving fire, but you seldom spend a lot of time here, even less so in this specific corner. I guess if you have south spawn and you know somebody's gonna come through here, you can hide here and get some shots in, but then the bush above here is much better probably. Pretty useless position. 1 out of 5 tomatoes. Behind the north spawn on Mountain Pass is a very interesting defensive position. I have never used this one myself, but I think it has the potential to be good if you have a friend who is situated on the hill and is able to make a defensive crossfire here. Especially if you know that enemies are coming through the south opening. 4 out of 5 tomatoes. Pretty good, maybe? At the waterfall here, there is one bush where you can lie in ambush if you have south spawn. It's pretty niche though, as just climbing up the hill above the base is a better option for defending. But if you are confident that you can destroy all the incoming enemies, this position will be able to spot the enemies earlier than from the base, and you will be on your way to the enemy base much quicker from here. Kind of a useful position. 3 out of 5 tomatoes. If you have watched our streams or videos for a while, which you probably haven't, let's be honest here, then you might have seen this position before. It's actually very useful, although very risky. You need to be quick to fell these trees before any enemy arrives and make sure to be behind the bush at all times, as you can get some sneaky sniping shots from here. 4 out of 5, very useful position. On Pearl River, there are these small pockets that serve very little purpose other than being extremely situational defensive positions if you are trying to survive a losing scenario. However, this staircase looks very cool. 5 out of 5, very nice. Chicken! This waterfall position, on the other hand, is very useful if you can create a crossfire with a friend. From here you can farm a lot of incoming heavies if they decide to push. 4 out of 5, pretty neat. On Pilsen there is this tiny, narrow, small-ass corridor squeezed right in between two buildings where you can lie in ambush. Not very useful, as you are better off camping in the bushes along the red line. However, if you can get like a kill with a shit barn from here, we will feature you. 3 out of 5. Send it to the mail. Province. If Fjords was a gold factory of useless positions, then this map is the source of all gold in the universe of useless positions. First off, of course, we have the infamous temple up in the corner. This place serves no purpose whatsoever. I guess you can snipe across the other side from here, but the render range is kind of limiting and you are so far off from the battle that you become kind of crippling for your team. Also, the road up to this position is extremely exposed to enemy fire, so getting here at all is pretty much impossible. It seems to serve only as sort of an Easter egg on this map. 4 out of 5, very beautiful. Then we have this water hole. Also extremely useless, but very beautiful. 5 out of 5. You can also get up on this shelf if you are like in a 1 versus 1 scenario and you know your opponent is down on the lower side. But other than that, this place is just a death zone. 2 out of 5 tomatoes. Have you ever solved this maze before? I thought so. Since we are such gamers at this channel, we managed to squeeze ourselves into this extremely useless position as well. 0 out of 5. I don't recommend it at all. Have you ever been here before? I thought so. 0 out of 5. On Redshire, this place used to be a viable position to snipe from, but it seems like Wargaming has completely forgotten about this position, as nowadays it's just a death trap. Basically no cover, and the bushes here barely cover your tank. Also, look at this. The tree just f***ing falls through the ground. However, if you can get a kill in like a shit barn from this position, we will feature you. 1 out of 5 tomatoes. The opposing side has a much more viable sniping position. 3 out of 5. Pretty nice. Have you ever been in this little pocket? Its only purpose really is to serve as a counter to the D1 sniping position, and that's pretty much it. 2 out of 5, I guess sort of useful, question mark? Safe haven. This map is still sort of a mystery to me. There are so many useless positions to go to. First off, we have this little immersion position. I guess if the road just didn't continue here, it would not look as cool, I guess. But from a gameplay perspective, this little area is completely useless. 2 out of 5 tomatoes. Here though is an actual potentially useful position. You can go hold down here and get some camo from the bushes right here. From here you might actually be able to defend the base pretty well. 3 out of 5 might come in handy. Try it out. Here's a really good spot for you RD gamers out there. If you stand right here, this is the sweet spot. If anything goes wrong, you can just tap the S key. Let me show you where it is. And bam! There you go. You can drown yourself. Alright, here we are on my favorite map, Serene Coast. We're gonna go to my favorite position on this map. It's called Village. Okay, let's go everybody. I'm so goddamn excited. Let's go, man. I've been looking forward to this all day. Oh my god, look how beautiful this place is. This is what happens when you go to Village. On steps, there's this little pocket northeast of the map. Back in the day, it used to be a pretty viable position with a lot of cover and bushes, but Wargaming has kind of destroyed this position into being a place where if you go here, you can't really escape. You're also very exposed if the enemies manage to flank you here. It might be more useful at lower tiers though, when the tank is much smaller, as there is some cover over here. Still, 1 out of 5. Rip this place. You know, when you are an artillery gamer, it is of high importance to know where you can drown yourself on every map. So let me show you where you can do it on steps. It's right here. Remember this. On Tundra there is this little position that is rarely used due to how meta the hill section of the map is. The entire one line is kind of niche, and if enemies manage to come through here, they usually go straight for the cap and are rarely in line with this position. It's a pretty good hiding spot though, and I bet you have seen this position quite a few times if you play Ardy Lemau. 2 out of 5. Not particularly fantastic. Now, to the best position in the game, the bridge on Westfield. Majestic. Too bad you die if you go here. 5 out of 5. Stunning. And finally, we have this little pocket on White Park where you can sort of snipe the middle with your tank destroyer or whatever. It's rarely used as it's sort of crammed into this awkward spot where you don't get as good angles as other positions, but it's sort of good for holding a last stand in a clutch scenario. 2 out of 5, sort of useful, I guess. And that's it. Hopefully you have learned something from this video. If you haven't, I hope at least it was sort of entertaining. Anyways, if you have any tips of any weird or useless or funky position that you think we missed out on in this video, please let us know in the comments below, and we might be able to do a follow-up video. Anyways, thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye bye. Also, don't forget to like and subscribe. Bye bye.